Hi, this is Alcam. Welcome back to my channel. I know this week the president was firing people that were involved in testifying against him from last summer and in the fall in the impeachment hearings. I know a lot of people are not crazy about that, and not happy that some of these people got fired. Well, you think that Donald J. Trump was bad. You should have seen some of the people that used to work for New York City Transit. And the 33 years I've been down there, oh my gosh, you had some people that were so horrendous. And it makes working for Donald J. Trump a picnic. Believe me. You had management personnel that was involved from everything from sexual harassment to, get this, manslaughter. And everything in between you can imagine. Well, let's see. Let's start with the most embarrassing situation of all, as he called it. Former President Lawrence G. Reuter, which I also call douchebag on this channel. So, sure enough, when my son asked to see a photo of him, somehow, by accident, an article from the New York Times popped up. And he took gifts from a vendor from New York City buses from 2000 to 2004, I believe. So he got about over $600 in gifts, and from golfing equipment to the circus, he had to pay over $1,000 in fines when he got busted. And he said that was embarrassing. Well, he wasn't embarrassed when he went to a church to supposed to utilize a eulogy to an employee who got killed on the job. He tripped on a bolt and he got electrocuted when he fell into a rail. He's acting like he was a nice guy and so on, praising the employee that died. Well, he reminds me of this made-for-TV movie, these mild guys. One that comes up, all smiles and everything, like Lawrence G. Reuter, and he's patting another guy in the back. And the other guy says, the only reason why you're patting me in the back is because you're looking for the soft spot to put the knife in. Yes, that fit Lawrence G. Reuter to a T. Even though his middle initial is G. Sure enough, what happens? The inquiry comes out, and his medical history was in there to make it look like that's what killed him, his medication. The family was outraged and were not very happy. The guy comes up to the deceased employee's funeral and he does this. Of course, that's not the only thing involved with Lawrence G. Reuter. There was questionable other things too. But Reuter is just the tip of the iceberg. Then you had Joe Hoffman, Mr. Pompous himself. I'm gonna have to call him what he is. He was a guy, if you ever saw him on TV, the one who was in the token booth after the incident from the money train where the booth exploded, killing the employee. They tested the fire extinguisher. It starts with an H. They tried to set it on fire and it worked. They were trying to blame him for allowing the situation for the explosion to take place. They killed him, and they said he has a history of smoking. But they never said that he had a history of write-ups of smoking, which is a big difference. It's not like they found any cigarette butts around. You could easily would have found that. No. Imagine if you're that kid, you're seeing how your father died in the booth, and then you have this buffoon performing this so-called experiment and that worked. It's not a very good feeling. Oh, and by the way, Hoffman made a transit authority by 2 motorcycles for emergencies. As far as we know, they never used them. It's been sitting there. Don't know what happened to them. Emergencies. See, a very good waste of money. I mean, unless you have a license to drive a motorcycle, it's useless. Here's another winner. This guy came from set under Dave L. Gunn. I don't remember his name right now. One of these big shots. They're not a very nice guy either, but apparently they had a problem on the Q train one day, and he goes up to the terminal 57 and 7. He comes in, and he does a Ross Perot thing. Yes, for warning for those who don't know what I'm about to say. If you ever remember, Ross Perot was running for president on the Independent, and he went to a large gathering of African American people, and he said the wrong words. Yes, he did. You people. You never say that to Black and Latino people, because it ain't going nowhere. Oh yes, now I remember. The guy's name was Paul Overseer. Dumbbell comes in, he said to all the crews that were Black and Latino, you people. He got chased out of there so quickly, it wasn't even funny. Yes, a witness told me that did happen. Big embarrassment. He had the sex harassment incident. One that made the news was I don't remember all the details, but this lady did file a sex harassment complaint against the guy. Unfortunately, the authority didn't do much. She ended up getting fired. So she ended up going to get a lawyer. They had a news conference to announce the lawsuit. Meanwhile, the guy who was harassing her ended up leaving transit because, quote, his wife was sick. Oh, yeah. Oh, now you remember you have a wife, but you wanted to fool around with this person. Another incident, this female supervisor got 2 promotions in 1 year by this guy, and we didn't know at the time the terminology was called grooming. Learned that from an Econ situation. Yep. So one day he goes up to the lady and says, it's kind of foolish not to share your body. Now, come on. Who says that at work? Yeah. Ended up, she probably did lose her job, and she ended up having to sue the authority. It wasn't until the 1990s they finally wised up and and improve their sexual harassment policy, because there virtually wasn't any in the 70s and 80s. Then you had another supervisor, another winner. Don't remember this guy's name, but I remember what happened before him to leave. He gave the wrong information to a crew that was supposed to have an assignment on the brand new Orchard Avenue subway, the open section between the portal and the elevator. So, one guy was trying to set up, do his work. On the track, they claim there's supposed to be free trains. So what happens? While he's trying to do his work, the train came out of nowhere, out of that tunnel. The guy managed to get out of the way, or so he thought. Unfortunately, if you know what device on these older equipment called pantograph gates, they're between cars. They use that for the crews to climb up and down the train, and it's long before the modern equipment. They don't use those anymore. Unfortunately, one of them was out of alignment. It was sticking out longer than it's supposed to. So, fortunate for that guy, not knowing that misaligned gate ends up killing him. So when they found out what happened and the supervisor realized the mistake, he left. He was never charged. Then the other incidents, like the Rock Park shuttle, he had the incident where the passenger was murdered, and he died on the platform to Beach 90th Street. Apparently, they tried to cover up the information that it was a Rock Park shuttle train. They didn't want people to know, because the Rock Park shuttle was part of the Yato program, and they're afraid that it worked out that it was on the Yato train, the program would die. And all that hard work, all that money they were saving would have gone down the drain. Well, yes, it did get busted, because the numbers on the train didn't match no A train that came through there that day. They have what they call the some service name, I don't recall at the moment, but it's like a few trains in the morning, few trains in rush hour direction. Only the thing is, those A trains that do go in there is a full-length train, or Rock Park shuttle is a 4-car train. So now when the numbers wouldn't match, there would be extra cars, and somehow somebody got the hold of the correct number, and a big scandal brewed out. Unfortunately, the media, instead of going after the New York City Transit, they only went after the police department. And that's what caused the police department's reputation to go down the toilet from 1987 until September 11, 2001. We had another incident where a supervisor found out that the motorman was sleeping with his wife. So he confronted him at Coney Island Yard. He had a tire iron, and next thing you know, he hits the motorman in the face with it. He was badly injured, and he lost his side. Motorman was forced to retire, not full pension. But yet this supervisor who did the assault was allowed to stay on until he can collect his pension. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is horrendous. You got more other crazy stuff that's happened down here, including an incident where a supervisor was harassing Hispanic men in his department because a Hispanic man of Puerto Rican descent was caught in bed with his wife. So he's going after all the Puerto Rican men to write them up for revenge. And now, how did I know about this? Unfortunately, this idiot came up to me and asked me if I was one of his porters, when he knew damn well his porters do not dress like motormen. And unfortunately, because I was on probation, I couldn't do a darn thing about it. So, it's a lot more horror stories than that, but we don't have time to go through all this. I just wanted to make sure, give you an example of what the heck was going on all these years in transit. Before I leave, I want to remind you I will be showing you a photo of Lawrence Ruder and the incident that he got himself in trouble with at the end. So this is how I can say so long for now, and don't forget to stop. Was I glad to leave this place? Absolutely.